Who is everyone's favorite gremlin? Larry.
Lenny.
Okay, that's a good one. That's the dumb gremlin. Danny, who is your favorite
Yeah.
gremlin?
It's a hard pick between Lenny and that one other gremlin who dresses as a chick. I don't know who.
The sexy gremlin? That's a
We'll
good
call
one.
it that.
At the end of that movie, that guy's trapped in a room with the sexy gremlin, and he has a moment where he's like, gremlin's gonna blow me. I might as well just let it happen.
That is 100% what happens.
Yeah, my favorite is the Kelsey Grammer gremlin that sings New York. Anyway.
It's Tony Randall.
Sure. So, it is time for the Golden Gremmies, the dark counterpart to the Golden Gizmos, where we celebrate or at least acknowledge things that happened during the year that we just don't ever want to see again, especially not in 2018. Last year had some real shit in it between Valve and Konami and Concept. This year has been completely blown out of the water. I don't think that there's been a Golden Gremmies since we've been doing this that has been quite so packed with bullshit.
Yeah, I agree.
For as much as 2017 was a very good year for games, it was also a very bad year for games. So let me pull out my notes, my laptop. Okay, I got my laptop. Yeah, thank you. Throw these notes. There's my actual laptop.
Great.
And let's dive in with worst. There's so much fucking paper at my feet now. Worst game.
All right.
Oh boy. So, worst game we have Lawbreakers, Evolve Stage 2, Drawn to Death, Horror Hospital. You remember that one, don't you, Danny?
Yep.
Yep. Ukulele, Arms, Mass Effect Andromeda, hey, Pikmin? And then, I'm sorry, add to that list Sonic Forces.
What about Bubs?
That is another one that I forgot to add. Definitely add Bubsy.
Ooh, I forgot that even came out. I just erased it from my fucking mind.
Yeah. Hey, remember that time we played all the Bubsy games, Danny?
No!
I remember that ending with you and me eating some bratwurst and watching that Paula Abdul cat video. Opposites Attract, that's the name of it. Took me a second.
MC Scat Cat.
Uh-huh. That we actually, I think that we cooked that beforehand, so the whole room smelled like sauerkraut for a while when we were playing Bubsy. Ugh. Okay, so kind of going down one by one on
Big
here.
bowl of sauerkraut.
Oh, yeah.
Every single morning.
Danny, have I ever told you about my Albuquerque prank?
No.
Okay, so I worked at a radio station for a while as a producer and basically like the jockey on a political talk radio show that aired Sunday night, which was a terrible time for that. And it happened to fall on April 1st one year. And what the host always did is he had this break for... what band was it? I think it was like Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. So our intro theme was just a different Led Zeppelin song every night. And so this one night on April 1st, he's just talking to our guest like forever. So instead of the Zeppelin song, I played all 11 minutes of Weird Al Yankovic's Albuquerque. And it took him like 8 minutes before he's like, why aren't we on the air again? I just like, put your headphones on. Just Weird Al screaming about bear claws.
No, we don't have any bear claws.
I just really like that I had a job at a radio station, played all of Albuquerque, and maybe like snuck a lot of Oingo Boingo onto their machine. There was that night too where he didn't show up, and so I just played a bunch of Nick Cave songs.
You start out with Stagger Lee.
Well, I wanted to, but I don't think that would have flied.
FCC would be on you.
Oh, yeah. The Agile Pie, hope he falls down flight of stairs. I hope he gets blown by a gremlin.
No, he would like that. He would like that.
Hey, the guy at the end of Gremlins didn't not like it, okay?
I hope someone picks up Agit Pie and then feeds him face or feet first into a paper shredder,
Oh, hell yeah.
just like the gremlin.
Okay, video games.
I hope someone microwaves him.
So the thing about this list is I think there's a lot of stuff on here that we recognize as terrible that some of us have not actually sat down to play. And then some of them we absolutely have. Danny and I have played Horror Hospital for sure. All of us have played Evolve Stage 2.
Uh-huh.
Why we fucking did, I don't know.
Evolve
Because
Stage 2...
Evolve was good.
No, Horror Hospital. Horror Hospital.
Oh. For a goof and a spoof.
Because it was $1.
I'm going to maybe say that's the worst game on this list. Like, just objectively, like, holy shit, that is barely a video game.
Yeah, probably.
Like, anyone can go back and watch our video. It has this, like, shaky cam thing to simulate, like, footstep movements. But it's like the person's having an epileptic seizure every step that they take. Like, it genuinely made me sick to my stomach. And apparently that game is available in VR as well.
On the other hand, Hey Pikmin is a game that I played.
Please say it correctly.
Hey! Pikmin?
Thank you.
Okay.
It's the official name.
Yeah. With 3 question marks.
They were just as surprised they were making it as everyone else.
I love the Pikmin series, and they turned it into a monstrosity. This game is not fun. It is not even the same genre as other Pikmin games. It is extremely slow. So much of it is based around collecting items, and yet every level will have a part where it's like, well, you pick one of 2 ways to go, and you're not going to be able to get back the other way. One of them will lead you to another collectible item. Another one will just exit the level. Good luck. And so you would just...
up.
Yeah, so if you want to collect everything, it's like, well, now I just have to replay the whole thing. Hey, Pikmin's very bad.
So I almost think with this category we should somewhat treat it like Game of the Year, where we kind of each take a turn and, in a weird way, defend these games and say which ones maybe don't deserve to break the top 5.
Okay. Then I will say ARMS is a lame Virtual On wannabe. But a Virtual On wannabe is still somewhat close to Virtual On, and thus it is not as bad as most of these.
Yeah. I would say ARMS also has a certain level of polish to it that a lot of these other games are missing.
Well, sure. I mean, it's a Nintendo game. Of course, that polish might have come at the cost of there being almost nothing in the game.
It's kind of a Splatoon 2 thing where, like, that launched in a really bad state, but apparently they've been adding stuff over time.
Yeah, they
Splatoon?
just launched their last update with like an extra fighter, which is just
Oh,
like, we put Sombra in, but it's not really our. It's our Sombra.
oh, you mean just like lack of content, not like actually buggy or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Of just
Okay.
like Splatoon 2 kind of launched missing a bunch of modes that would have maybe helped differentiate it. Likewise, ARMS did not launch with a big enough of a character roster. My one that I think should not be on this list is... I know I suggested it be on here, but maybe not Sonic Forces. Here's my thing with Sonic Forces, and the main reason I kind of wanted to bring it up was that the last 2 major Sonic games that released besides Forces were Sonic Boom and Sonic Lost World, both of which underperformed and were terrible. And then this one also underperformed in some really, really major ways. To a point that, pulling open the sales figures for Japan, its home turf and where Sonic should be doing better, Need for Speed Most Wanted outsold it nearly 2-1 just on the PlayStation 4 against Sonic Forces combined sales on Switch and PlayStation 4.
In Japan.
In Japan, which is still fucked up. This may be more fucked up, actually.
Yeah.
That game...
That's really great.
That game to me seems like Sonic Team has no idea what made their IP worthwhile. They have no idea how to make those games enjoyable to play. They are actively throwing shit at the wall and going, I don't know, you tell us. It's kind of insane that Sonic Mania even got made, it highlights what makes Sonic not work in 3D so well when that game is releasing like a month and a half off the heels of the best Sonic game that came out in like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly enough, the best thing going for it is that they leaned into the whole like your name plus the hedgehog thing and lets you make your own character, which gets you like Strange Eric and a bunch of other monstrosities. Like the tone in that game is all over the place. There's a bit where like Dr. Robotnik takes over the world and there's just a black screen that's like, and then Sonic was tortured for months.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, there's in text, white text on a black screen, it outright says Sonic was tortured for months.
I was not aware of this until now.
This fucking there's multiple videos on YouTube of people beating whole levels holding one button, not just like the first level, but like well into the game. Like I know that's a joke with Sonic, is just hold right, but like legitimately with forces, you hold the A button and you win. But despite all of that, if we're reducing this to 10 games, I see stuff on here that is somehow even less functional and less interesting and probably less fun to play than Sonic Force. So I just want to bring it up as my way of going like, hey, I'm aware you guys still made a bad Sonic game and maybe you should put Sonic on ice after this, because good God, but it maybe does make the top 5.
Okay. Let me tell you about my
Danny.
experience with Lawbreakers.
Well, it's
wait,
Danny's turn to.
Okay, right. Alright, sure.
Let's see.
Danny's just like, I don't think Horror Hospital should make the top 5.
No, like that's if anything, that's gonna be that's a top
Yeah,
worst. But
yeah.
Evolve Stage 2, like it's not really the worst. It's sad what happened to it, but like with Evolve, I don't think it deserves to be on the list just because it it had a lot going for it at the time.
I think that kind of makes it worse, though, that they actively ruined it.
So here's my thing is I agree with Danny on this. Mostly because I think Stage 2 actually launched in a fairly decent state and just became worse over time. There's another category in which Turtle Rock is nominated, and that is maybe the better way to approach Stage 2 is what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, when it first did it, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Just got progressively worse.
Yeah, so I say remove that one and remove Sonic Forces. You're in control. I tried to do it.
Okay.
Oh, you were saying something about Lawbreakers though?
Lawbreakers is a game by Boss Key Studios, founded by Clifford Blazinski.
Oh no.
You might have heard. He looks a lot like Dean Ambrose. And he was like, all right, well, I'm going to leave Epic. I'm going to do my own thing. Here we go. This is going to be a real banger.
He goes to Coney Island, comes back with the hot dog cart, and starts spraying ketchup and mustard all over everyone at Epic.
And so he's like, all right, we're going to show you how you make a video game. It's going to be the raddest thing. And then he comes out, it's like, here it is. It's Lawbreakers. It's a shooter. And that's it. And so, like, well, what does this do that's new or interesting? Well, you can hold down shift to shoot behind you while you're running. And there are some like low gravity places that you jump higher and you can shoot behind you there to sort of propel yourself, which is kind of cool. But my experience with Lawbreakers is I played the beta of it. And I thought, yeah, okay. Like, this is a decent, like, free-to-play game. Great. Then it turns out they want people to pay for it. And,
that was a good time.
It did not sell well.
And yet this is one that you think should not make the top 5.
No. No, I think it should be in the top 5.
Oh, we're arguing what needs to be trimmed off the list.
There's nothing here I think should be trimmed.
I understand that this is very difficult to do.
This is a bad situation.
Yeah, this is kind of the inverse of what we've been dealing with, where it's hard for a very different reason. Because, man, Drawn to Death is a pile of shit, too.
Yeah.
But Drawn to Death at least plays. Here's...
I mean, Lawbreakers plays, too. Like,
I'm going to suggest this. We have enough here that I'm comfortable doing this as a top 5, as we have for some other categories. I don't think that there is any way that Bubsy or Horror Hospital do not make it off of the top 5.
Yeah.
I think there's an argument for Mass Effect Andromeda, a game that was so bad they iced Mass Effect.
Yeah.
That thing is exceptionally buggy, especially for a AAA game, of just like elements of geometry ceasing to exist, characters duplicating themselves and walking around on the same screen, waypoints and like old objectives suddenly repopulating and being impossible to get rid of.
Also, like, even just the bugginess aside, like, just how terribly it's written. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, the characters are so bad.
What was the thing that they keep repeating at the first part of that game? It's like the main character kind of looking to the side going like, we'll be fine, right? And they just like keep doing it over and over and over again until it's sort of just like, this is a joke at this point that you keep repeating this question. There was that Playdate video I watched where Vinny went into some ship and they looked behind him and his partners were on a totally different platform way back, just going into and out of the crouch animation over and over again and would not move.
Sure.
They killed Mass Effect, though. Like, that actually was such a bad game that EA put out that thing going like, yeah, we're going to maybe lay off Mass Effect for a while.
Also, a lot of wasted potential. Like, there's so much stuff in the Mass Effect universe, and that first trailer making it look like a space western or something, which would have been great. Instead, it's just like, this is Mass Effect again, but you're not a shepherd, you're a Pathfinder, whatever.
A nobody.
Except not, because you're like the chosen one.
There is DLC stuff that is legitimately unfinished for Mass Effect Andromeda because EA just decided to cut support for it. Like, there are story beats that get presented in that game that have zero resolution.
Great.
Like, a bit in particular that I found out about is, like, your mother is supposedly dead, except then it turns out she's not dead. And then that's all you know about it. Like, they never make good on the fact that she's apparently been alive this whole time.
Man, it's like the opposite of Kill Bill.
David Carradine punches his fist up through the mud, raises from his tomb, belt around his neck.
Of course. And then he says, does Ryder know her mother is still alive? And then credits.
Oh, God. The thing with Mass Effect Andromeda, it is both a legitimately terrible game, but it is also maybe part of the whole discussion of, like, fucking what's up with EA? So I don't know if we... I think that at least the 3 games that make it into our top 5 are Horror Hospital, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Bubsy.
Yeah. I think so, too.
Ukulele, I think, maybe wouldn't breach the top 5. Like, that is... It's so disappointing that the people who really put, like, those collectathon games on the map made a bad one of those games.
To me, it just makes me wonder, like, how important they were to the previous games.
It would seem
like,
either...
was it actually like them, or was it just the rest of the team that now are doing whatever else?
Working in Microsoft's minds churning out crap. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think my thing with Yooka-Laylee is it's maybe more of a disappointment than necessarily an overtly bad game. At least like not in the way that some of the other stuff on this list is, because here's my thoughts. We have 3 on the list. I could also very much see Lawbreakers and Drawn to Death on the list.
Yeah.
Yooka-Laylee and Hey Pikmin are both bad, but are they top 5 bad against the other games that we have here?
I don't think Pikmin is.
Danny, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think Pikmin's that bad.
Okay.
Okay.
Danny, tell us about Yooka-Laylee. You love it, right?
I've not really played Yooka-Laylee.
Okay. I actually
All right.
I don't
thought
think it's.
you had played a
But
little
from the
bit
look
of
of it, I have not. No, but like from the looks of it, I don't think it's necessarily a bad game. I just think that people thought that they were going to do something different with it, and all they did was just remake Banjo-Kazooie with different assets.
You know, here's the funny thing. Bringing up Sonic Forces earlier, and Sonic Team getting outdone at their own game by a team of indie developers. Yooka-Laylee, very much that same thing of like, these were the guys who did that thing and they fucked up, and then you have a Hat in Time, which is made by a bunch of indie developers that does that thing way better.
Also, do you know what they have in common?
Tell me. I'm not sure what
Jo-
direction you're in.
JonTron voice characters in both of them.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So Best JonTron should have been a category.
No. Don't encourage him. It's going to talk more about how the Mexicans have secret enclaves around the U.S.
Alright, let's assimilate these games into the shitty game gene pool and figure out what's 1 through 5.
Okay, so you remove Yooka-Laylee?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's bad, but it's not offensively bad, I think, in the way that everything else is.
Okay. Also, let's be real here. Number 1, number 2 are going to be Horror Hospital and Bubs.
And the question is, who is number 1 and who is number 2?
Yeah.
Because okay. You watched us play Horror Hospital, Larry. You know enough.
Yes.
Annie and I had to actually play it. That game doesn't end long after where we stopped. The actual ending is the dad wakes up in like a hotel room, floats over to a mirror because he doesn't have a walking animation, and then shoots himself.
Great.
That's the game.
He walks like he's in a Spike Lee movie, like he's just on a dolly.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Like, as bad as Horror Hospital is, like, do we axe out, like, because, like, the whole thing now is Bubsy versus Horror Hospital now. I would say Bubsy is a lot worse, just because it was made this year. Like, it was put out this year.
Well,
like,
so was Horror
it's a
Hospital.
game. Yeah, but, like, that's, like, I expect shit from indie developers.
I also expect a Bubsy game to be shit, though.
Here's the thing, though. In Bubsy's favor, well, quote, favor.
It's on the recording now, I got you saying it.
Yeah. For one thing, this was made by the developers of the Gianna Sisters games, which are actually pretty good.
That's true.
Which makes me wonder if this is bad on purpose.
Look, they set out to make a Bubsy game, and they did exactly what they set out to do.
This is also, this new Bubsy is somehow even worse than the Super Nintendo ones.
Boy. Like,
so think about that.
Okay, so there's this part of me that's just like, Horror Hospital is $1 on Steam, and I had zero expectation going in that it was going to be good. In fact, we chose it very much because we knew it was not going to be good and it was going to be funny to go like, oh god, wow, look at this pile of garbage. Bubsy, I could say the same thing about, but they're more audacious with Bubsy in the sense that they charge more than $1 for that.
Bubsy is $30.
Yeah, it's a $30 video game. I've played enough Bubsies to know I don't want Bubsy. Bubsy also, similar to Horror Hospital, shockingly short.
Yeah.
It's only like a couple hours. The
Uh,
way levels are designed with like the yarn balls are just slapdash all over with no sense of reason or purpose.
you know, I just looked at the Steam reviews for Bubsy. 60% positive.
Well, people are dumbasses.
As if you needed any more reason to Steam review. I can guarantee the positive ones are all like 10 out of 10 would Bubsy again or
Yeah,
something.
probably. Bubsy, so I think part of the only reason this exists is because they wanted to capitalize on a meme, which was just like they put out that Bubsy 3D museum remake thing that was really funny and legitimately a better Bubsy game than any other Bubsy game. And then
Yeah.
whoever had the rights to Bubsy was just like, oh shit, right, we bought this, and like people are talking about Bubsy again, so let's just make a Bubsy. It's tough for me though because I don't expect either game is going to be good, so it's not like a matter of like, oh well, I was really surprised by how bad this was. And I think Bubsy is just as bad as a dollar horror game on Steam, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
It Horror Hospital actually made me physically ill though.
It did.
But like you could also turn that off.
Just for the fact that you can
that
be
is
able
a
to
good
turn
point.
off some physically debilitating
Debilitating?
thing
Yeah.
could make Horror Hospital #2 and Bubsy #1 as it is just as bad, if
That,
not worse. Than
that's
Horror
a
Hospital.
excellent. Also, I would say that maybe Bubsy makes #1 just because they charge $29 more than the Horror Hospital devs, and like fuck them. Yeah,
Yeah.
Bubsy's #1.
Okay.
And keep in mind, Horror Hospital actually made me want to puke, and Bubsy is #1. Oh wow.
The actual title of this.
Okay, yeah, no, good. Add the whole thing. We wouldn't want people to be confused that it's any other Bubsy game that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Might have been Bubsy 3D.
Now there's the debate: is that worse than Bubsy 3D?
No.
Yeah. Another
Bubsy
game.
3D is worse.
Technically, Danny and I played that within the last year too.
Should get special
No.
guest Ulilia to come in and weigh in.
Oh Christ.
See what he
Bubsy
thinks.
Defender himself.
Do you know what he thinks about the new Bubsy?
Well, I think he's still running the numbers. It's going to be a little while. Crunch the math on that jump height.
It's like he
Okay.
crunches those pizzas.
Lawbreakers Drawn to Death and Mass Effect Andromeda. So the thing with Andromeda for me is, again, it's like unplayable for technical issues. Drawn to Death is unplayable because it is a game that exists for pieces of shit.
David Jaffe, I don't know what happened to David Jaffe. I don't know if he got some sort of horrible brain damage or what, but over the past decade or so, he has just been insufferable.
Mm-hmm.
And this is somehow like the culmination of all of it. Like, this is 100% David Jaffe, and that is not a good thing.
I have a very good feeling that Danny has not heard some of the announcer
I have not.
dialogue. Could you please find him a video of that announcer and link it to him? Because that I think is a huge component of why Drawn to Death is insufferable. Or at the very least, that is a very good way to sort of paint a picture of like this is what this game is like altogether.
Yeah.
Like, I also think the art style is insufferable and hard to look at. Like, it's a decent concept of just, like, what if we made this game that, like, thought it was cooler than it actually is because the graphics are, like, what a kid would draw in his notebook in high school. Except then it has this air of thinking that's legitimately great. Like, it's like David Jaffe was that teenager, and he really
Give me a
thought that his
second, I'm gonna
shitty
find
drawings
this.
were fantastic.
I have
Yeah.
to sort of scrub through videos to find some announcer clips.
Okay. How are you doing, Danny?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm trying.
You know what? I'm just going to link to the quick look because that includes plenty of it. I would say just skip around in
that
here.
thumbnail already has like one of the things that I really hate about the game, which is your taunts are like fucking image macros and shit.
Yep.
But like none of them are pre-existing memes or anything like that. It's nothing that is already out there in the wild. It's like they tried to fabricate their own in this really clumsy way.
Yeah, it's like they couldn't get the clearance rights for Insanity Wolf or something, so they were like, well, we need to come up with something vaguely familiar.
This game would have had Pepe all goddamn over it if David Jaffe got his way.
Yeah.
Yeah, the announcers got like a lot of stuff just going like, ugh, what a bunch of pussies, ugh.
I heard.
My balls. It just fucking sucks so much.
It's awful.
It is really bad, yeah.
And that's just like the icing on top of a game that's just really boring.
Yeah, it's like it's not actually fun to play. Like on top of that, it just like it's not doing anything very interesting other than being a kind of like third-person arena shooter that doesn't even feel good as one of those.
Yeah, it's not a case of like Guacamelee where it's actually a very good game. It just has a bunch of stupid memes in the hub.
Yeah. It is more like a meme run where it's like here's a bad endless runner with memes.
Yeah.
Except at least Meme Run actually used the real memes, which in a weird way, like good on them. I think Drawn to Death makes number 3.
I think so too. I also feel like Lawbreakers is number 5.
Okay, I can live with that. I think Mass Effect Andromeda being unplayable means it should be fairly high, but I am I'm offended by Drawn to Death, not necessarily that it's puerile, but that like I'm offended by how lame it is.
And that they really thought it was cool.
Yeah. It definitely has this air of them thinking that they really did make a good, funny thing.
The aesthetic of it makes you think that, yeah, it's like, it's not as cool as they think it is, except that's totally not what they're going for.
Yeah. David Jaffe, man.
Yeah.
What a sad turn.
Calling All Cars was a good game.
It could have made another one of those, but instead, Drawn to Death. All
Twisted
right, that is
Metal.
That is our number. That's our 5 worst games of 2017. Larry, please read their names. Number 5.
Lawbreakers.
Number 4.
Mass Effect Andromeda. Wait, Andromeda, as you would say.
More like Ass Effect. Thank you very much. Hi, I wrote for Drawn to Death. My name is David Jaffe. Number 3.
Oh, no.
Drawn to Death. A David Jaffe joint.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. You were supposed to read the names. No, number 2.
Horror Hospital.
Huh?
Very spooky.
Number 1.
Bubsy. Oh, wait. Bubsy. The Woolies Strike Back.
That's our list of worst games 2017, what could possibly go wrong.
Possibly.
Okay. Next list. I think it's up to worst developer or worst publisher.
Worst developer.
Oh boy, here we go. It is genuinely surprising to me that there are not more names on this list.
But they're not what?
Not more names on this list. This is as much as I found. So, we have Bluehole Studios Incorporated / PUBG Corporation. Obviously, they are the guys that made PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
No.
Who knows what else they made this year? Specifically, I don't know what else Bluehole has actually done.
I looked up. Remember, they made like Korean MMOs or
That with the quality of PUBG, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Boss Key, which
Yep,
I
of
think.
Lawbreakers.
Oh right, well,
What we just
right,
talked about it.
yeah. I somehow for you know what, Boss Key is such an unremarkable name to me that it fell out of my damn head.
Yeah.
Motive Studios, which are the ones who did the story mode behind Battlefront 2.
Yep.
Turtle Rock, obviously, of Left 4 Dead and Evolve Stage 2 fame.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic Team. Name says it all. Capcom.
Yeah. So
Cap.
in my list, I would like to paste my list as well. Here it is. It did not copy.
Terror Billy is typing.
Oh, man. Hold on. I pasted over it. Get it open again.
Oh boy. Was yours that different from mine?
Yes.
Oh wow. I usually
Well,
have an easier time coming up with like worst publishers.
here it is.
That's
I think
true.
it's pretty comprehensive.
Yeah. I forgot that whoever the fuck made Bubsy should absolutely be on this list.
That's right.
Okay.
In fact, I've already forgotten it. I just looked to see who it was.
So I think right off the bat we remove Motive.
Remove what?
Motive.
Mm.
Do add on to yours, or on this one that we have, Bubsy and Valve. The thing with Motive is that they made a super inoffensive Star Wars campaign that just wasn't very good and didn't do anything really interesting. Compared to some of the stuff that the other people on this list have done, which is like actively shitty, Motive's greatest sin was just sort of being like white bread.
Yep, I agree with that.
Like, it's unfortunate, too, because a lot of people really wanted a story mode in Battlefront 2, and with how good the rest of that game looks and how exciting and fun some of that game can be, it's unfortunate that none of the excitement or the fun translated over to that campaign. Also, you gotta look at some of those off-model Star Wars jackoffs a lot.
Well, that I don't know was them. I think that might have been DICE that actually
Sure.
did the character models.
I also think... Sorry, go on.
I would just like to mention I wish the best for Jade Raymond. But boy, I hope this is not what their full Star Wars game will be like.
I genuinely worry it is, both because of what I saw in that campaign and just EA in general.
Yeah.
Bad times. But yeah, I think strike them off the list. I think other developers did worse this year.
Okay.
I think Turtle Rock deserves to make the top 5.
Yes, I do too.
So Danny sort of knows this because I had him play a little bit of Stage 1. And you and I played a lot of that back in the day. That was a really good game that did some very interesting things that was unfortunately kind of pushed to the wayside for, I think, very wrong reasons by a lot of people.
I believe a certain website gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Might have also said that it was the best looking game of that year. I think we also give it best multiplayer.
My set was what?
Best looking. I think it was best looking and it might have won best multiplayer.
Because Guilty Gear came out that year.
Oh, yeah. Well, then it was best multiplayer that we gave it.
I think so.
It was topping something.
Yeah.
That game really, like, shot for the moon in some ways, and I liked the whole premise of it a lot, and it did have some balancing issues, and you know, that thing with the cosmetics was kind of a shit show, and the new characters cost a little too much money. It wasn't perfect, but it was one of those things where you look at it and you're like, boy, I hope that the next time that they do this, like, I think it will turn out really great.
Sure. You get the first one that has potential, and then they iron out the problems with the second one. Like Mass Effect.
And then Stage 2 happened, and it was basically Mass Effect Andromeda, because guess what? Evolve is on ice now, too.
Except it didn't start that way.
Sure, so Evolve Stage 2, when it first came out, kind of pinpointed the biggest issue that a lot of people had with that game, which was, oh, we want it to be more combat-focused, we want it to be the more
By the way,
exhilarating, exciting moments more often.
Well, hold on. You should probably mention that Evolve Stage 2 is free to play. Like, that was the whole
Yeah.
thing, was that they transitioned to... But instead of just changing the game as it was, they actually, like, changed the way it played,
Yeah, so
which is the problem.
again, it became a more combat-oriented thing, whereas the first Evolve was all about the hunt, and like trying to stay ahead of the hunters, and the hunters trying to do their best to actually actively track the monster. Stage 2 is just like, I mean, they were upfront about going like, we want you to have a combat encounter at every single stage the monster is at.
Mm-hmm.
The problem then is that certain characters are not at all balanced around that specific type of gameplay. There are some characters that are more about tracking than they are about actually combating the monster. And in trying to rebalance everything, they broke Evolve.
Yep.
What a shame.
There's
It really is.
So this all sort of culminated in a state where there were major significant balance issues and bugs. They had never reached a point where they could actually monetize the game, which, talk about how much that must have burned 2K's ass, because that thing saw such a huge uptick in concurrent players, and then it dropped down the same way Stage 1 did, and they never were able to monetize it any step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
But the final state that thing is in, there's Slim and Hank. Hank has a shield he can project onto people, and Slim is able to heal the more damage he does. They buffed those characters to a point that when used in conjunction, the numbers don't actually work out, and there's literally no way to kill them.
Great.
If Hank is shielding Slim, Slim will get all of his health back before he can shoot through Hank's shield, and then if you try to kill Hank, Slim can keep him healed up forever. So like even the most powerful monsters in the game cannot kill them if used properly.
You did a real bang-up job on it.
Yeah, great job, 2K. They also
Good job.
removed like all of the maps. So for the longest time, there were about 3 maps. And then they did this weird thing where they're just like, okay, we're adding like different effects into them. So like this one's going to have comets that rain down and like hurt you, and they're random. Or like this one gives you insane buffs when you eat or kill a wildlife, like an animal.
Yeah, it was like special mobs in the jungle in MOBAs.
Yeah, basically.
Which also was actually... No, I mean, that is absolutely what it was. Like, the game to begin with, if you play as the monster, you were basically jungling.
Yeah.
Like, that was what you did.
Yeah, it definitely has some MOBA aspects. But like part of the problem with Evolve is that like unlike a MOBA, you actually need there to be differences in the map. And they did not treat it like that. They mostly just focused on adding new characters and tweaking existing characters when like that game needed more diversity in the actual map set. And so when they just came out, they're just like, okay, we're adding different modifiers to it. There were a lot of people understandably upset that instead of bringing back old maps they liked, they were just modifying the 3 that were already in rotation. And then like they
like my favorite was the dam.
That was...
They never brought it back.
They were working on that, and they actually had it in a beta state that they put out in like a very specific mode so people could just trial run it for them. Something went wrong though, and it never actually made it into the game, despite the fact that it's in the patch notes and they said they put it into the game. Which to me says like something went wrong in the code and like it doesn't actually unlock properly, and then 2K cut support. So you can't actually get to it now. They fucked up ranked, and so ranked consistently, like, it doesn't actually match you against people of equivocal levels. So like as the monster, I went on insane like 50 game win streaks because I would be playing people who just installed the game. Like I would actually go in and check their playtime, and it'd be like, oh, and I got an hour in Evolve. I'm sitting over here with like 300, and it's ranked.
Man, this is a bummer.
They really fucked Evolve up. Turtle
Yep.
Rock absolutely, I think, is in like the top 3.
Yep, I think
Because
so too.
as much as Stage 1 got screwed up because of 2K's interference, Stage 1 was 2K, Stage 2 absolutely was just Turtle Rock not knowing how to reconfigure that game. I also think they would have been better off making an entirely new Evolve game, because I don't think they could have reconfigured what they had into what they wanted it to be. It just did not work out.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah. So what about... Okay, then now my turn. Capcom. So, everybody saw what happened with Street Fighter V.
Up.
It was a disaster. What? Did Danny just wake up?
But I've been saying shit. God damn it.
I haven't heard any of it.
Me either.
Street Fighter V was a disaster. And so you think, well, surely they would have learned their lesson from that. Here comes Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. And it turns out they did not. They released it again in a mostly unfinished state. This time it had a story mode in it. Not that great. The characters are not who you would want in a Marvel vs. Capcom. Like, the picks are just really weird. Like, what? Captain Marvel?
Didn't they remove like Mega Man or something like that?
No, they
Mega Man's
removed
in
all
it.
of the X-Men. They removed
Yeah.
all of the X-Men.
Oh, well, that's just as
Which is
weird and bad as removing Mega Man, so...
Which is especially funny now that Disney's bought 20th Century Fox.
Yeah.
That, like, because the reason they probably picked these characters was, movie synergy.
That's exactly what it is. Movies.
Yeah, because I like Captain Marvel, actually, but there's no reason to put her in a game over Wolverine. But I don't know. And then the game isn't that great. Like, you're better off just playing MVC 3.
What were like some of the more specific issues with it? Because I actually don't know much about Marvel vs.
It just feels, I don't know. It's hard to
From what I can,
really-
from what I saw, it's really more of just like it's bare bones. Most of them.
Yeah.
It used to be the like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was like the better one, just because it had a lot of variety of characters and just those 3.
The character models are really bad too.
They were very.
It's weird. They look worse than the ones in 3.
That
like
is
the Chun-Li debacle.
Yeah,
We're just like,
yeah.
holy shit, what happened?
Chun-Li looks extremely bad.
Yeah, I did see some of that.
The DLC characters are extremely better looking than the original characters, so that was like a really big red flag of like, oh, like why do they look 10 times better than the ones shipped in the game?
I mean, I will say one of the playable characters is Monster Hunter, so it has that point in its favor.
And she is the best character, apparently, because you play her exactly like you do in a Monster Hunter game, and it fucking works.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I see them going in there.
But look, the thing is, it's not necessarily that it's just because of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It's because they did this again. Like, they did pretty much the same thing that they got raked over the coals for with Street Fighter V.
So here's my
question.
question.
And they're like, this time it'll work.
Here's my question for you, though. Capcom put out other games other than that. Do you think something like Resident Evil 7 somewhat redeems them?
Yeah, a little bit.
Also,
I didn't play
technically, the announcement falls within this year, but even doing something like saying, like, hey, we're making a new Mega Man.
They have been doing a lot better strides, like the arcade edition for Street Fighter V is coming out.
That Monster Hunter game looks great, and it's cool that they're kind of like...
But like,
going
here's
in
the
on
thing.
that.
Here's the thing, though. That's a next year. So
yes,
this year,
but I'm
they
saying...
still have...
True, but
But
this is any action that they took over the last year. So it's not necessarily limited to whether the game come out, but whether or not they made a good announcement and have been like following through on it in a way that we can perceive so far to be good. Now, if next year those games like fucking sucked,
oh my god, I'd fucking die
kill
if
himself.
Monster Hunter World.
yeah,
I know.
please don't.
Like
Danny's Suicide Watch 2018 begins right now.
Someone's just watching the Metacritic page for Monster Hunter World.
Please
Just
be
glancing between
98.
that.
Please be 98, and it's like 90, and it's just like, well, my
Yeah,
life's
like,
done.
Well,
So-
time to end it.
I think in terms of like top 3 and sort of looking at the full trajectory of what they've done, I think Capcom has had good stuff in their favor, whereas some of these developers are like exclusively bad. Like Turtle Rock
Yeah.
didn't do jack crap this year that was good.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So Bluehole Studio, I think I want to at least get out of the way because the thing with PlayerUnknown's Battleground is that it does, like I said, has a very solid foundation. Like I like the bare bones of what that game is going for, of like, we're dumping you on an island, battle royale style, you need to find anything you can to kill everybody else and just survive. The whole like having guns feel more realistic and like they have much more weight to them than what you would find in a typical video game at this point is very interesting to me.
Well, that's because it's basically an Arma mod.
Yeah, I mean, it got its start as that. The guy who made it began doing Arma mods
Yeah.
and then kind of branched out from there. In fact, I think this was basically just a mode in Arma up to a
Yeah.
certain point. So, like, I like the idea, and I think that they began strong by putting out this very interesting game, and then over the course of the rest of the year, like, a tumorous mass began to grow on their brains collectively, and they've just begun making worse and worse decisions over time.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled up a Polygon article that I think is maybe has like the most, a lot of these points like very condensed into easy to grab like quotes. Just to read from this, most troubling, however, has been the reaction of some of the games' fans in the West. Amidst the rapid growth in the Chinese player base, racial slurs have begun flying on social media. Some have even called for Chinese players to be booted onto their dedicated servers, their own dedicated servers. Green strongly condemns this behavior. Quote, "It's quite disgraceful to see. The Chinese player base is very passionate for Battlegrounds and they love our game. There's a reason we have such a high number of concurrent players. Yes, there is some cheating out there, but the majority of our Chinese players just love our game and love playing it." So I understand if people are throwing
You
around
didn't-
racial slurs and that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You didn't include the part at the end where he then claims people
no,
don't
no,
want them
I-
on this. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, if you want me to read the rest of this part, it's this kind of xenophobic attitude that a lot of Western players seem to have online is just disgraceful. It is 2017. We live on one big planet together. What the fuck? I'm quite ashamed of those players that shout these things out. We want to create a great space for everyone to enjoy across the globe, and locking one region out, I don't know what the fuck they're thinking. What the fuck they're thinking is the lag and cheating in this game is really bad, and a lot of that is originating out of China.
Yeah. Like, it's not because we think the sneaky Asians are trying to bomb Pearl Harbor again or something. It's because it makes the game laggy.
Yeah, like, I understand that given how big the player base is for this, and like in any other thing with video games, there's going to be a group of assholes out there who absolutely are throwing slurs around and making threats
Yeah.
and being dumbasses. But to dismiss the actual like problem as just being a bunch of racists and nothing more is missing the point. There is a lot of server lag and rubber banding. There's a lot of cheating. Happens to be coming out of China more than anywhere else. Go figure. And that would be more excusable if Bluehole or the PUBG Corporation were doing more to actually address cheating other than going like, whatever.
It's like
Whatever,
if-
xenophobic assholes.
I mean, his response to cheating is literally just like, yeah, there's cheating. Great. What are you going to do about it?
Hey, there's cheating, but they bought our game, so I don't know.
There's cheating. Boy, they sure really like Battlegrounds, though. Like, come on.
It's like if everybody was getting their accounts hacked by Russians, like even like you log in and everything is in Russian, and then whoever's in charge is just like, well, it's not our fault that you hate Russians.
Yeah.
Like not hashtag not all Russians. Like great, but still just it's not a coincidence. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in general, that game needs to have better server stability, and they're not doing enough to see that that is the case. The game is now out of early access, or is it? Because according to this quote, 1.0 was a milestone for us. Green said it wasn't the end of 1.0 is in the version. It wasn't the end of development by a long shot. We look at this game as a service. We look at this as moving into permanent beta, where we will continually upgrade and improve. I think Facebook says the same about their system.
Permanent Beta was that book written by the guy who was a writer on Al, right?
Yeah, sure.
It was like on cocaine all the time or something.
So I swear to God, if the term permanent beta actually starts picking up and gaining traction, I'm going to rip my own head off. Like, no. Your game shouldn't be in permanent beta, you lunatic. You do not take it out of early access and then pull out that, like, well, it's out of early access, but it's in permanent beta. Like, all you're saying is my game's never going to be done. All you're saying is my game is always going to be busted to some degree.
Yeah, that's what Facebook says, though, so, you know.
Oh, great. Well, Facebook is wildly successful for some reason, just like
Everybody loves it.
Battlegrounds.
Like, that permanent beta thing, like, I feel like I know what they were trying to say, but like the fact that there's like, oh, but it's permanent beta, like, the Facebook says it. And it's like that's just a huge excuse on the fucking planet.
So like I understand what they're trying to say too, but like when it's a sentence away from we're treating this as a game as a service thing is where I'm just like, ugh, no. Because you're throwing out two concepts here that I am just not okay with, man.
And personally, I would consider, sorry, I'm eating a muffin, games as a service to be like something that has online functionality that you continue supporting for quite a while. Not, we're releasing this in a busted state and we're going to make it slightly less busted over time.
Yeah. The game has two maps. You play that thing, it does not feel like it has left early access. I genuinely think that they only did that so they could capitalize on like Game of the Year discussions and have it be considered valid for those, so they could just ride that wave.
Yep. Look, there was a pause there.
Yeah. Also, quote, we have a game relatively feature complete, so for us that's 1.0, which, like, man, if that's feature complete, I'm good. It's just,
I agree.
It's
apparently Danny's not going to say anything, so I have to.
Yes.
Yeah.
What kind of muffin, by the way?
Better be banana nut. Nah.
No, blueberry's better than banana.
Yeah,
I love banana nut. How dare you, you fat fuck?
Oh.
Wow.
What? I'm skinnier than you.
Yeah, but they don't know that. You could be as big as fucking Bob in Tekken.
I thought he was talking to me. Okay,
I was actually the character basis for Bob.
Bob's great.
Yeah, they came into my home and they put all those green dots on me and beamed me into the video game.
You did really good.
Yeah,
you did really good, by the way.
Thank you.
That's how it works.
They shot the Tron machine at me and I went into the game.
The JonTron machine? Oh, I don't know about that.
Yep, no. Can't stand China. Let me tell you about them. The thing with Battlegrounds is just that there seems to be a distinct lack of support there where they don't want to address the lag, they don't want to address the rubber banding, they don't want to address the cheating, and those things are actively making that game more and more unplayable as time goes on. Say what you will about it being China's fault or whatever. It's not necessarily that they won't acknowledge that. It's that they won't acknowledge the problems in any way or make any kind of an effort to elaborate on how they would address them.
Also, let's be real. As has been evidenced time and time again, China don't care. Like,
That's
they'll
true.
just pirate it. It doesn't matter. So you might as well do something about it.
Yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable to have like dedicated servers for different regions and being able to filter out like what server you want to be on.
Yep.
The game has enough players; it's not going to suffer because of that. If anything, it will make that game more stable.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, they're the millionaires, not us.
Man,
I
actually
think
need to something.
Okay, I think they make top 3 as one.
I think so too.
And
Okay, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is the 21st best-selling game of all time.
that's still
I'd said about 11. Well, it's not far. 24 million copies sold. Right between Connect Adventures and Nintendogs. And to be honest, at this point, this might be a little bit outdated. It would not surprise me if it's quite a bit higher.
Yeah. Well, because it also launched recently on the Xbox.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
Because like
most
they're
definitely higher now.
between 21 where it's at and like being in the top 10 is actually not that far. Like
It's probably
number 10 is like 30 million.
Anyway, my suggestion for number 3 in this would probably be Black Forest Games, because they made Bubsy.
Yeah.
They made a Bubsy game. Fuck them. Top 3, man. Like, I've already said my piece about Sonic Team. I think it's what a humiliating year for Sonic Team.
Yeah.
More so than normal, which is like, alright, why not? Also, I briefly mentioned this, and just to bring it up and then let them go, is Supersonic is a feature in those games that you could sort of just expect to unlock from playing the game. He is now paid DLC. You have to pay $2 to unlock Supersonic.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah. So, like, I acknowledge Sonic Team did not do good this year, but I think that we got 3 that were, like, demonstrably worse. Like, to a degree, you sort of expect they're going to put out a bad Sonic game every year. So, like, whatever. On the flip side, I usually don't expect a Bubsy game to come out, so...
Here, I have a question for the Sonic expert.
Yes.
Who was the guy behind Sonic? Like, who was the dude?
Like, who did the original, like, design of the character?
No, I mean... For example, like Hideo Kojima is the Metal Gear guy. Yu Suzuki for like Shenmue and Virtua Fighter.
So
and
it would
stuff.
be Yuji Naka. He is the one who
That's right.
developed the engine for that thing, which, like, looking at it through the very specific lens of, like, the 1990s, that engine's actually kind of insane.
Okay, what is Yuji Naka up to now?
I think driving around in very expensive cars and living off of Sonic the Hedgehog and Billy Hatcher money.
Right, Billy Hatcher. Didn't he make that that game that came out on like the Wii and Wii U, and he like came out and was like, "Hey, play the original Wii version or something."
I
you
think
know what
so,
I'm talking
yeah.
about?
Yeah.
The one where you like point with a Wiimote to fly around.
I don't think Yuji Naka's doing much. Like, I don't think he's really leveraged his celebrity as a game designer in any meaningful way. He's just been making smaller experiences now.
Okay.
Also, he made Nights into Dreams, so, you know.
Ugh.
Great.
But he also made Choo Choo Rocket.
But the reason why I asked for clarification is it is sometimes like a Mega Man thing where people misattribute Mega Man's design to Inafune.
Uh-huh.
Because it's Naoto Oshima who did, like, the actual characters. So. But he also did Nights into Dreams, so I don't know.
So, Rodea the Sky Soldier is what it was.
Yeah.
Apparently Yuji Naka did something called Legend of Coin in 2017. I don't know if that's real or
Sequel to
there's
Money
no
Puzzle
article for it.
Exchanger.
Oh, I wish. That'd be great. Yuji Naka tweeted about it. Apparently it's an iPhone game.
Yeah.
Came out 12 December. It says, an epic story like none ever seen before in a coin game.
Well,
Over 200 monsters to train and summon. I've seen a lot of coin games in my time.
all right.
Apparently on the App Store, this has a rating of 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah. I say take Sonic Team off of here. Boss Key I almost hate to see go because they are absolute trash, but I think Turtle Rock, Blue Hole, and Black Force did worse things.
I still have a tab with Greg flailing.
Beautiful.
Great.
Okay, question is, who is number 1, 2, and 3?
Oh, we're only going to have top 3?
Yeah.
Alright, who take off? I wasn't paying attention, I was watching Greg.
Sonic Team and Boss Key.
Alright.
I know, I feel a little weird about letting Boss Key...
But Cliffy B...
Do you want to do it as a top 5? We could do it as a top 5.
No, it's alright with just 3.
I think Black Forest and Turtle Rock are number 1 and 2. Black Forest made a Bubsy game, man.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised you're not saying Blue Hole's number 1.
So I think that it's a real toss-up, let me tell you, between these 3. I do think that Blue Hole has been doing some shitty things with just not addressing that game's problems. But Turtle Rock did such a bad job, that IP is basically dead now. And Black Forest Games made a Bubsy, and I cannot stress that enough.
That's true, they done made a Bubsy.
Yeah. Oops, I made a Bubsy.
They done did it.
They also, man, they also didn't make like a full Bubsy game. Like, it's so short. And arguably they made a worse Bubsy than the other 2D Bubsy games. Like, I think they're number 1.
Alright. Do we have any objections? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I agree with all of it.
Great.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
That's very close,
as
actually,
it
to a
turns
good
out.
Bubsy. That's
Bubsy.
little work. You could actually have a really good Bubsy. Yeah, so I think Black Forest number 1. I actually do think Turtle Rock number 2 because they just mishandled an otherwise good game in such a bad way that the Evolve franchise is dead.
Yeah.
And Blue Hole is doing some terrible stuff, but I actually comparatively, I think that maybe in 2018 they have a chance to actually pull that shit around and grow some sense and actually address the issues in that game. Turtle Rock had their chance. Black Forest Games made a Bubsy. I think that's the ball game.
Okay, so 2 Turtle Rock.
Yeah. Unless anyone objects. Silence. George wins again. Alright.
Hey, this is your thing.
It is.
You're the expert in garbage.
I'm
Why you kept talking about Sonic Mania.
I'm the Grimster.